So I was actually chosen to review. Whoopsies. What's up, everybody? My name's Danon, and welcome to Ahnestly. Today we're checking out the OnePlus Buds. These are the $80 wireless earbuds from OnePlus. Is it worth it? Well, let's get honest. These buds actually surprised me in both good and bad ways. Let's start with the sound quality. For the price tag and the style of bud, and the style here is this unsealed, open bud, kind of like the AirPods, perform better than I thought it would for almost every genre of music. Now that's not to say that they're amazing and they can hold a candle to something like the Momentum True Wireless 2s, which you all can see my full review of here. But again, for the price tag, for the style of bud, they performed better than I thought they would. Now, as soon as you put them on, you will know that these are definitely tuned to be more bass heavy, like most popular audio products these days. That's kind of what everybody wants, but it's not an ugly, uncontrolled bass that bleeds into other frequencies. It's nice and tight, it's well controlled, and of course you're not gonna get that sub bass, that real deep bass. You can only get so much with it being passively sealed like that, but it's still pretty good. In terms of mids, they're fairly warm, and then highs, unfortunately, are just pretty much absent. So that clarity, that sharpness. To give a clear example for you guys out there who aren't maybe not as technical, a cymbal. When you guys listen to a cymbal, I'm gonna back up here to spare your guys' ears, but a cymbal should be like, tss, 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 you know, you'll hear that. With these, it sounds more like, tss, 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 like it's just kind of missing there, that sharpness, that clarity. So that's kind of how these buds are tuned. Now I'm gonna talk about 3 songs real quick, and you guys can take a listen and follow along. But the first one is Earth, Wind, and Fire's September. One of the best songs out there of all time, I think. But when you listen to that, what's really cool is if you close your eyes and just listen to it with whatever device you're on now, you will hear that with every, I think, 2 measures, a new instrument, a new thing gets introduced, and it becomes wildly complex, where you'll hear it and it starts with like a electric guitar like maybe it's a bass, and then another thing, and then another instrument get introduced, and then you just hear soundstage gets built, right? Like one is coming from here, one comes from here, one comes from here, an instrument comes from here, and it just builds into this really complex song. Well, I was expecting the OnePlus Buds to basically struggle with all of that complexity, but it actually did a really good job maintaining the separation between instruments, and I could hear it actually created some soundstage where I could separate, like, oh, there's this instrument, there's that piano, there's the bass, like it did all that. A really good job until the vocals came in, and I think that's kind of where it met its limits, where as soon as the vocals came in, a lot of those details disappeared, those individual instruments kind of disappeared. I think it's a limitation of, I think it only has 1 driver, but it's a limitation of lack of drivers here. The next track I listened to is one of my favorite jazz pieces called Waltz for Debbie by a guy named Bill Evans, and in this track he's paired with Cannonball Adderley, and in this song the Buds do a really good job creating soundstage and sound separation, because in that song you can hear the piano comes in and you hear it like down here, and then there's someone else playing a piano but the lower notes, and it sounds like it's down here, and then Cannonball comes in with his saxophone, it sounds like it's about in the middle of your head, and then you hear the drummer come in and he's on the left side, and it just does a really good job creating soundstage, again, for its limitations of being buds that sit on your ear as opposed to being sealed deep in your ear canal. So yeah, I mean, really impressive there. And then the last song that I listened to, and ironically the one that sounded the worst, was Still Dre by Dr. Dre. For those of you guys who don't know, that album is touted to be one of the best mixed albums, rap albums of all time. And if you listen to that track, you hear this ding, 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 ding kind of sound in the beginning, right? And it constantly goes at a regular pace, but because of those lack of highs, that ding, ding gets totally muted out. The bass heaviness, unfortunately, when they start rapping, if you listen on any nicer pair of earbuds or headphones, their voices are super duper clean in that track, but with the bass emphasis on these, unfortunately, their voices sound a little bit muddy there, which is really surprising, because when I listen to other pop tracks like Sam Smith or Adele or Amy Winehouse, like their vocals are pretty darn good. But yeah, in Still Dre, I think just that overwhelming amount of bass makes the vocals sound just a little bit muddy there. So ironically, rap songs perform the worst on these, whereas pop, R&B, jazz perform pretty darn well. Now, these are unsealed, which means that if there's a lot of noise outside, you're gonna have to crank up the audio, which could potentially damage long-term hearing. I will say that I watch a lot of Netflix shows, and for Netflix, the audio, the vocals, whatever, the dialogue is extremely clear with these buds. I had no issues with it there. If you guys like that weird audio assessment, please like and subscribe, share this video, do whatever you need to do. I'm trying really hard to grow this channel, and I would love for your guys' support. In terms of actual use, fit is subjective, but for my ears, which have these giant ear holes in them, it fit perfectly fine to the point where like I could shake my head like crazy and I didn't feel them budge at all. These buds come with Android Fast Pair, which means that as soon as you flip the cap open, your phone will detect that it's there and automatically pair, which is really nice. It's not as smooth as Apple's ecosystem and how they do it, but one of the advantages that this has that the AirPods don't is that you can see at any point the percentage of the case's battery and each individual bud's battery as well. So really nice touch there. The OnePlus buds allow you to listen to each pod individually, so you can have one of them in the case and it'll be totally fine, either the right or the left, which is really cool. And it's got that auto pause function if you pull it out, which actually works better than my $300 Momentum True Wireless 2s, so that says something. This next feature is really cool in that even though the OnePlus buds don't allow you to pair to two devices simultaneously, it allows you to switch between two devices really seamlessly. So let me give you an example. I have it paired to my OnePlus Nord here as well as to my iPad, and if I just tap and hold both sides for 3 seconds, it'll switch automatically and pair automatically with the previous device. So if I tap and hold for 3 seconds, it'll go from my phone to my iPad, and if I again tap and hold for 3 seconds, it'll automatically pair to my phone again. And yeah, again, just between two devices. But that is really, really cool because with 90% of devices out there, if you want to switch devices, you have to go and get the other device, go into settings, go to Bluetooth, and then push connect on these buds, and then that's how you switch connection. To do all that seamlessly without any interaction of the devices, that to me is like the true definition of wireless, that I don't need you. I can do everything here. I don't need the master device. That's wireless. Otherwise, there's an invisible tether here, right? So really cool feature, really well done by OnePlus in that regard. These buds have an IPX4 rating, which means they're sweat resistant and resistant to splashes of water, but cannot be submerged in water. And the audio call quality from phone calls is actually pretty darn good. Here's a quick sample of that. This is a test of the OnePlus Buds microphone. There is a dehumidifier about 20 feet away from me, so I want to test it also for noise canceling. Now, if you don't own a OnePlus phone, you will miss out on a lot of the features of this bud. The first one being around battery life, kind of. So these buds get about 7 hours worth of juice from my testing, and the case will give you another 2 full cycles of that, which is pretty good. But where this thing really shines is in its fast charging capability. So if you use OnePlus's Warp charger, a 30-watt wall wart, then in 10 minutes, you will give 10 hours of juice into this case, which is pretty freaking fantastic. But the Warp charger does not come with this. It comes with all the phones, but it doesn't come with this. So I don't know how many guys out there have a 30-watt wall wart just lying around ready to go to be able to fast charge these things. The consolation prize though there is that 10 minutes inside the case should net you about 2 hours worth of listening time, so it's still pretty quick in that regard. Unfortunately, these things do not have wireless charging, so I mean, it is $80, so I wasn't really expecting that anyway. The next feature you miss out on is gesture configuration, and this is a major weakness about these buds because you have one gesture available to you, and that's double tap, and that's it. If you don't have a OnePlus phone, double tap on both sides defaults to next track. So if I'm using an iPad, if I'm using a different Android device, double tap, next track, double tap, next track. That's it. I don't know why they configured it like this, but that's all you get. If you have a OnePlus phone, you can customize what double tap does on each earbud, but you're limited to play pause, next track, previous track, and voice assistant. And again, only having 2 of those is really, really limiting. Again, I don't know why they designed it like this, but that sucks. There's no volume control, which to my point earlier about wireless being untethered to your device, if you can't control volume, that means you always have to walk around with your device within arm's reach to be able to control volume quickly. The next feature you'll miss out as a non-OnePlus phone user is software updates for these buds. Now, to me personally, that's not a big deal because most generic Chinese wireless earbuds don't get software updates anyway, and I can't see these buds getting that much better via software updates. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Okay, so my final thoughts. Are the OnePlus buds worth it? Unfortunately, no, I don't think they are, and I don't recommend you pick them up. Why? Because even though I was impressed by the sound quality, the serious lack of functionality is a big issue, because it's not like OnePlus has a ton of devices in its ecosystem. It's got a phone and that's it. So if you're gonna use it for any other device, if you're ever gonna switch from the OnePlus phone, these things basically become useless. And at 80 bucks, I think you can find a comparable sounding pair of earbuds, possibly better sounding earbuds, because you'll have that passive seal. It'll be OS agnostic, which means it'll last you longer. Functionality will be much more rich. I think there are better options out there. Even Apple's AirPods, they were designed for the iOS ecosystem, but even when I use them with non-iOS devices, I could still pause and play and next track and previous track. I could still do all that even without an iPhone. And so yeah, I wouldn't recommend these, because even though the sound quality is there, the functionality just is not, and I think these will become obsolete very, very quickly for you all out there, which is $80 down the drain. All right, guys, let me know if you guys agree or disagree with my assessment in the comments down below. And until next time, everybody, stay safe. And as always, stay honest.